Okay, let's dive in. What if, um, what if everything you thought you knew about weight loss was kind of off?
Mm,
The calories, the carbs, just toughing it out. What if that's missing the point? What if it's actually about something else?
that's exactly it. That's where we're going today. We're taking a really deep look at semaglutide, that weight loss medication, but from a very unconventional angle.
Okay.
These are insights from a guy named Dan Hollis. We've got notes from meeting him, his actual protocol, a whole exploration of what he learned. It's fascinating stuff.
Right. So our mission here is to kind of pull out the surprising bits, the things that make you rethink weight loss altogether.
Yeah.
Looking at how semaglutide might be less like a crutch
Yeah.
and more like Dan says, a window to change, a path to figuring yourself out.
Precisely. And the absolute core idea, the thing that just flips the script, is this quote from Dan Hollis. He says, "Semaglutide gives you silence, and silence gives you truth."
Wow. Silence gives you truth. Okay. So for someone who's lived with constant food noise for years, decades maybe,
Yeah.
what does that silence actually feel like? Is it good or
It's profound. For a lot of people, it's literally the first time the food just stops talking in their head.
Ah.
No cravings, no mental bargaining, just quiet. I mean, think about that. It could be the first honest moment, truly honest, they had with themselves in ages.
right?
But here's the kicker, the misconception. People often think they fail because the drug stopped working. Dan says no.
Hmm.
They fail because, and this is his quote, no one taught them what to do with the quiet.
Ah, that makes so much sense.
Hmm.
Because silence, especially when you're not used to it, can be really unsettling, right?
That's
That noise goes away, leaves this void.
Yeah.
And the impulse must be to just fill it back up with what you know.
Exactly. The cheese puffs, the cheat days, the familiar chaos, like you said, it feels safer somehow.
So how does Dan Hollis guide people through that? How do you use that quiet productively instead of just, panicking and reaching for the snacks?
Well, that's where his approach is so different. He's not about just finding another way to numb out the discomfort. He actually teaches people to, quote, sit in shame long enough to learn something from it.
Oof, that's intense.
But it's a different kind of medicine, right?
Right.
It's about introspection. It forces you to confront the real issue, which, as he keeps saying, it was never about the food.
It was never about the food. Okay, so if it's not about the food, what
Yeah.
is it about? And what does his framework, his protocol look like?
Yeah, he calls it a human-centered framework. Think of it less like a diet plan and more like a conversation.
On conversation.
Between what?
Between your biology, so your body's signals, your behaviors, those ingrained habits, and crucially, your emotional blueprint, the stuff underneath it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really focused on hitting macro targets or finding the perfect drug dose. It's about building. He calls it scaffolding in that quiet space that semaglutide creates.
Scaffolding in the silence. I like that image. Okay, so if you're building something new there, where do you start? What's pillar number 1? Pillar 1 is simple. Start with silence. His point is, when the cravings stop, the truth begins. So this first phase is purely about observation. Just noticing.
Noticing what, exactly?
Noticing the emotions that bubble up when eating for comfort isn't an option anymore. Maybe it's boredom, sadness, anxiety, whatever it is. You don't jump to fix it. You just listen to the quiet.
Just listen.
Okay.
That feels like it leads straight into the next pillar, then rewire the rituals.
Right.
Because even if the hunger is quiet, the habits are still there.
Exactly right. Food rituals, they're wired deep in our brains. They're neurological.
Yeah.
So the physical urge might be gone thanks to the medication, but the habit, reaching for chips when stressed, eating while watching TV, that stuff sticks around. Semaglutide basically shines a spotlight on those patterns. It gives you the space to see them clearly and then consciously choose to replace them.
Replace them with what?
With anything, really, that serves you better. A walk, calling a friend, maybe journaling, deep breaths, building new, healthier pathways in the brain. The drug opens the door. You got to walk through and do the rewiring.
Right. Okay, this next one, pillar 3, really grabs me. Anchor identity before the weight drops.
Yeah, this one's huge.
His line is, your body changes faster than your identity. That's the trap. What does that trap look like?
It's a disconnect. Your body is visibly shrinking, changing shape, maybe quite rapidly. People notice, comment.
Yeah.
But inside, your self-image, your core sense of who you are might still be lagging way behind. You might still feel like the overweight person.
Oh,
And that disconnect is dangerous because if your internal identity doesn't shift to match the external reality, your brain can kind of freak out. It wants consistency.
And try to pull you back to the familiar identity.
Mostly. Self-sabotage. It's often unconscious.
Yeah.
So Dan emphasizes doing that identity work alongside the physical changes, asking yourself, who am I becoming? Grounding yourself in that emerging self.
That makes sense. You can't rush that internal shift, which brings us nicely to pillar 4. Pace the process. Dan says, fast results don't mean lasting results. Pacing is protection.
Is he just talking about, like, not losing weight too quickly?
That's part of it, the metabolic pacing, letting your body adjust physically. But it's maybe even more about the emotional pacing.
Emotional pacing.
Yeah, giving your mind, your emotions, your identity time to catch up, to integrate the changes. If you change too fast on the outside without that internal integration,
It doesn't stick.
often, no. It can lead to overwhelm, feeling like an imposter in your own skin, and eventually relapse. The old self just can't sustain the new reality if it hasn't been given time to adapt. Slow and steady integration is key.
Okay. So thinking long-term is crucial, which is pillar 5. Plan the off-ramp from day 1.
Yes, this is so important.
His point, the real work begins after the medication. That feels counterintuitive to some, maybe.
It might seem that way, but it's critical. You don't wait until you're about to stop the semaglutide to figure out what comes next. You plan for it from the start.
Absolutely. Because think about it, what causes relapse? Usually it's not that the physical hunger comes roaring back the second the drug stops. It's the underlying pattern.
It's the emotional stuff, the habits.
Exactly. The things the medication helped quiet down. If you haven't built strategies and support systems to manage those without the drug, they'll likely resurface. So the plan for post-medication life needs to be built concurrently.
Which implies you really can't or shouldn't do this alone. It's pillar 6, right? Build the scaffolding.
You got it.
And he calls support neurobiological scaffolding. That's quite a term. What kind of support are we talking about?
It's not just, having a cheerleader. It's deeper. It's having emotional support, people you can be truly vulnerable with. It's having a community, others who get it. It's structure routines, plans, and it's having the right language to understand and talk about your experience.
Language matters.
Hugely. Dan makes this point. AI can give you information, data, but humans deliver meaning. You need both. That support system, that scaffolding, it's what helps embed the changes neurologically. It's not optional. It's essential biology.
Wow. Okay. And the final pillar, number 7, rewrite the narrative.
Yeah.
Weight loss is biology. Staying there is narrative. What does he mean by narrative here? The stories we tell ourselves.
Exactly that. The deep-seated stories. I always fail at diets. I don't deserve to be happy. Food is my only comfort. I'm just fundamentally broken.
Right. Those internal scripts.
Those scripts, they have immense power. Dan's work involves helping people actively identify and rewrite those limiting narratives. Because you can lose the weight, you can change the biology, but if that underlying story of, say, unworthiness or inevitable failure remains,
the narrative will win out eventually.
It often does. No medication can prop you up indefinitely if your core belief is, I don't deserve this, or this isn't really me. You have to rewrite the story to match the new reality you're building.
So pulling this all together, Dan Hollis's approach, it's really not just a list of tips. It feels like a whole shift in perspective.
It absolutely is. It's a fundamental shift. Away from just biology, towards identity. Away from seeing the medication as the fix, towards seeing it as a tool for finding meaning.
Yeah.
Shifting from shame to building structure. And taking that initial silence the drug provides and turning it into a strategy for living differently.
And what about people who say, oh, taking semaglutide, that's just cheating? What's Dan's take on that?
He tackles that head on. He says, semaglutide isn't cheating, it's adaptation, which I love.
Adaptation.
Yeah. And then he adds, the real cheat is pretending willpower was enough all along.
Ooh, that's powerful. So the goal isn't really about hitting a target weight, is it? It's something bigger.
Much bigger. The ultimate aim, in his view, isn't about becoming some totally different person. It's about, and this is another great line, finally having the space to become yourself.
Yourself, without all the noise.
Exactly. It's about getting the chance to, as he puts it, rewrite the story people were too full to finish. Building that inner architecture, that solid sense of self, so the changes can actually last.
So bringing it all home, the core message seems to be that real, lasting change, especially with something like semaglutide, helping, isn't about winning a war against hunger.
No.
It's about what you choose to do with the quiet moments, the silence, and the truths that emerge from it.
Right. It's about rebuilding your relationship with yourself, with others, creating a life where food is just food, not the only way you cope.
Makes sense.
So maybe, a final thought for everyone listening. If weight loss, viewed this way, is about rewriting the story people were too full to finish, what story might you be holding on to? Not just about food, maybe about any part of your life where you feel kind of stuck. What narrative is running in the background? And what might happen if you actually gave yourself some space just to listen to the quiet?